And spawning in the bottom left-hand side of Eternal Empire, it is Cham.
Top right-hand side of the map, it is Kelazhur. Playing for Archangel.
When it comes to these positions, I almost anticipated Kelazhur bringing that SV out even more and placing the depot on the low ground and him going for like the two barracks wall off kind of thing. Just because I know he's capable of doing that kind of cheeky stuff. Cham, by the way, he's been doing this quite a bit, using one of his first drones to kind of scout for proxy 2-raxes. Is this something that you've ever felt like doing in your play?
It depends on the player that you're playing against. I think against Kelazhur, it's a fair bet. Right? If you think that scouting the proxy racks will give you an advantage or win you a game against a player that you usually don't win against, and you think, I don't know, 30% plus of the time you're going to scout the barracks, then it's worth it, right? So I think as the underdog, you can afford to take some risks. And I think that was a decent risk to take.
Yeah, he was doing it in the series against Special as well on both maps, actually, even though Special didn't opt for any kind of proxy shenanigans. So I was just wondering if it's something that he's maybe had some success with, and it's like, oh, yeah, like I can imagine trying it like 2 games in a row, and both times it gets you the win instantly, and it's like, damn, I've got to have this in my play from now on. But if I went up against a Zerg that I knew did that, like regardless, it also... You have to think about if your opponent studies you as well, because if you know he does that, then it's like, oh, I can't proxy rax him. Like, oh,
absolutely, yeah. And then you just don't do it, and every time they do it, you get an advantage, right? So it is, that is a very fair thing to point out, and I think that a lot of players are very methodical. I'm not sure how much Cham mixes it up,
I also think if players go through phases, let's say Cham does that for a month straight, and then nobody ever proxy raxes them again. And then he just plays totally standard and normal.
Oh, yeah. I have a variety of proxy hatches exactly for that reason. Because people are not going to know what's going to pop out, That's if you keep people guessing, it's always an advantage. You're always difficult to play against. The more predictable you become,
I definitely feel that's something that's you through and through. Like, the less predictable I am, like, the less chance my opponents have kind of thing. And Cham does manage to get his third base up and going behind the Reaper. He also secures his first creep tumor, which might be like, these are very simple and straightforward things. But no, he took advantage of that Reaper being low health and manages to get everything going as he would. So far, so good. Because not losing a Ling, the games before against Special Cats, he was losing like 2 drones at the start each game to that single Reaper.
Yeah, that's not good. And I mean, Kelazhur has pretty comparable micro to Special. Will lose the Reaper as we talk about his micro. But yeah, I think Reaper micro, I usually think of Kelazhur and Euthermal, for example. So I think this speaks better of Cham than it does against Kelazhur, right?
Certainly.
He was being sloppy probably against Major or against Special is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, there was just moments where like a Liberator would turn up and it would kill like 5 drones before they were seemingly pulled. Oh, that was cute, by the way. He actually attacked the rock there to get the creep tumor kill, and creep tumors now are light armored in the most recent patch, so Hellions deal with them much easier.
Yeah, very nice job there by Kelazhur identifying that he could do that, and as quickly as he did. He's a very quick on his feet player, Kelazhur is. One of his favorite players to watch was always Polt, because he always liked how good Polt's decision making was consistently. Like he saw the sense in everything that in most moves that Polt would go for.
No, I mean, Polt was definitely a smart player. Wasn't necessarily the fastest, but definitely thrived on knowing how to just play the game very well and very smartly.
Yes, indeed. And that's the kind of player that Kelazhur wants to be too. So let's see. I mean, he's kind of there, right? He's one of the best players in the region, certainly, and oftentimes a contender for more than that.
Yeah, he's this player that I think he lives in Netherlands now, like studying there also during his full-time and part-time gamer, but still pulls out really incredible results and goes to some Raven Harass, which does end up getting a drone, but not much more. Cham seems much more composed so far in this game alone than he did the entire series against Special. So that is definitely a good sign for him.
Definitely. I think it's pretty cool that you can say of Kelazhur that he is the best player in Brazil, the best player in Latin America, one of the best 3 players in the Netherlands, technically, and one of the best, if not the best, American Terrans, because he has dual nationality as well.
He is a super cultural guy when you really go to think about it. Okay,
yeah,
so this Raven...
Chinese as well, by the way. So.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
He's a smart fellow, is Kelazhur. This turret gets a little bit more damage done. Just 2 drones so far, but that Raven continues to be annoying. And when it runs into the natural like that, and then it comes and repositions at the Zelnaga tower just to deny creep spread, like this creep spread is... It's much harder to push out now with the kind of pressure that Kelazhur's been putting on.
Yes, indeed. It's a little bit difficult, but really nothing of great consequence has happened this game. Mostly both players have been able to carry their game plans on and about. Kelazhur with really nice control of that creep spread like you were mentioning.
Yeah, and I don't know necessarily if Cham skipped on anything or what have you, but starting the +1/+1 upgrades after the Spires like over halfway done, his upgrades are obviously quite a bit behind Kelazhur, and Kelazhur even started his +1 attack and then realized he didn't have his second engineering base, and he's still so far ahead. So how do you feel about that kind of decision making by Cham?
I mean, I think it's clear if we just look at the resource at the bank when he starts the upgrades, it's clear that he could have started them earlier. So I think maybe just nerfs or just not paying attention or just not warmed up or something of the sorts, but it's definitely a mistake, right?
I think so, because +1 attack is completed now with this push, and no upgrades are completed by Cham. The supplies are very equal. The armory is going to be finishing soon too, which means these Hellions, these Hellions can turn into Hellbats.
Yeah, but Kelazhur really nicely set up outside of the creep as well, and there's no creep tumors pressing on forward. Here comes the flank.
Oh, it felt like it was all kind of jumbled up though there.
And here it goes again. Needs to get this clump of Marines in the middle. Can he? But no, Kelazhur manages to split. And with this, I think Kelazhur gets a fantastic position with the next wave of reinforcements.
He certainly does. I mean, there's not too much anti-air left here, and he is stutter stepping. The 4 Marines hold off the little squad of Butas, but there is a new wave coming.
I hate him. Like all of a sudden it becomes more impossible. Oh, your army just gains so much HP. If it ever looked doable, it's it's by getting a lucky hit on those Hellions or something. But now, hey, the Hellbats are kind of clumped up, and Cham is gonna go for it. Picks off the tanks as he pushes the Marines back. But is that enough?
I mean, keeping together that little Marine flock, Kelazhur microed very well there. The thing is, Cham doesn't need to just kind of fight against this RV and kind of trade with it. He needs to dominate it and get it away because he needs to drone up the base. Right now, Kelazhur's ahead in a lot of regards. +2 is halfway done. He's getting a 4th CC, drilling 4s behind this as well.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think in an ideal world case scenario, the Zerg crushes the Terran army so hard that it's on the Terran to defend the counter offense at that point, right? And in a middle case scenario, at least they managed to defend comfortably enough, but this is looking bad, like the worst universe case scenario.
Definitely. I mean, Kelazhur's 40 supply ahead now. All the Banelings are cleaned up, and those Marines, they are still fighting. And the Banelings, there's only 3 left, and another wave of Marine comes in here. Kelazhur has a 30 supply advantage. +2 weapons is about to finish as well, and +2/+2 hasn't even been started for Cham, and he loses his 4th hatch. He is in bad shape right now.
Really, really bad. Bad enough that Kelazhur is overstepping on creep, you could argue. I mean, he could be as patient as he wants from here on, but he smells blood, and he is confident, and he's going to push on forward, and I can't fault him for it.
Yeah, Kelazhur has no fear at this point. So many Marines. There's pretty much only 10 Mutas on the field. The Banelings, he's sniping them all before they even get to finish morphing. Kelazhur looking mighty fine in this first series, and the macro behind it is clean as well. Constantly parading across the map. GG, Kelazhur takes the first game convincingly.
Yeah, what do you think about the single G when there's enough time between you leaving and the message? Then you have time to reevaluate and see it was a single G. Because sometimes you do the single G and you leave and you're like, single G. But here I feel like it was single G, ... and then leave. So I feel like you would have seen single G, could have pressed escape, G, enter. No?
I mean, you could.
Maybe I'm reading too much into this.
Maybe it's so when I see people type a single G instead of a double GG, I'm like, oh, they're rumbled, they're fumbled. You know, I'm feeling pretty good against them. Maybe he wants Kelazhur to think that he's jumbled, and the next game he comes in with a clean slate. Yeah.
Brilliant, then. That is the next level.
Obviously, but
or are we?
It has to be mentioned though that was Cham's map pick, his first map pick at that Eternal Empire, and that did not go how he wanted it to at all. Yeah,
that's pretty rough. I mean, we're gonna see what happens on the next map. It's gonna be a mountain to climb for Cham, certainly. Pillars of Gold.
By the way,
is there anything
I really
that sticks
out?
Oh,
sorry. I really like the Raven on that map. Like, one of the issues for Raven, usually if you play against Zerg, it's like, if you go and harass with it, you're not clearing up creep. And it's a real, like, trade-off. What do I do with that Raven? Whereas there, it just goes and plants a turret into the natural, then it comes back out to the Xel'Naga Tower and denies creep. Like, it's a very, very small distance for it to cover, but then it serves both purposes. So, the reason I bring this up is Special also did the Raven stuff on that map. So it's really nice to see that unit utilized as perfectly as it can.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we can definitely expect of Kelazhur. Now the Spanish commentators are in the lobby as well. They're getting spicy. Things are getting spicy in the chat, Ben. This is I mean, Cham is the underdog for sure, right? He has to make a story happen here.
Certainly. Like, he's definitely had times in his career, because there was a WCS Kiev where he made a pretty darn strong run, actually. And that wasn't too long ago. So you can never sleep on Cham. But right now, the two players that we've seen him play, he's getting a little bit outdone here.
Yeah, outdone. It's a good way to put it. And spawning at the top right-hand side, the man outdoing. It is Kelazhur.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand side, it is Cham.
Vamos, Cham!
There was a period of time where Cham was playing pretty much like a lot of roaches against Terran, right? Not necessarily in an all-in fashion, but like as his main unit comp.
Yeah. He was big on the Roach Infestor too, so I'm not sure if that had a great effect. I think he's always liked like his timings though, right? I've never seen him as a very macro-oriented player, more like I don't know, something like an Laserish player.
Oh, really?
Maybe not. I don't know. What do you think?
So when I played Cham when he was like, let's say at his best, I always felt that he was very good at macro. Like, didn't necessarily have the cleanest unit control. And I know he's a fellow F2er just like I am, but he would always have a lot of units, like a lot of units. He'd also play almost overly safe, just so no all-ins could really kill him. And I guess that also applies to this drone scout that he keeps doing each game.
But do you find like he attacked you with those load of units, or just sat back and
I felt he sat back a lot.
Oh, I see. So maybe so.
And I mean, maybe this was like during a time where, yeah, roaches and infestors were used in sync, and it was a lot easier to kind of pull that off. But yeah, I haven't seen him really resort to that kind of old style that he used to kind of rely on a little bit. And I do know that Terrans have got better against that kind of stuff as well. Like, make no mistake about it.
Yeah, I feel like the Muralist style, though, I feel like if you're not outdoing your Terran opponent, like mechanically speaking, like if you are not throwing more actions at them than they can throw at you, and like little units and rambis and trying to get the most juice out of your Muta, it's very difficult to make work, right? Like if
I agree with you. Like with Mutas, you can never be on the back foot, because as soon as you're on the back foot, the Mutas have to defend as opposed to harass like they want to, and that's where everything falls apart, I feel.
Yeah, it's a very tug of war type game, I think, between Zerg and Terran when the Mutiling Bane enters the fray, and I'm not sure that Cham can measure up to Kelazhur in that front.
Yeah, it's super momentum based, super tempo based, and this is the second game in a row he's just kind of Yeah, lost.
I mean,
his
the other one
first shot.
the other one at least got somewhat surrounded, but this one was just a straight up miscalculation, right?
Oh, okay. This is This is more interesting from Cham. So he denied the Reaper very early on. There's no chance of that guy running back in, and Cham is like, you know what? Let's take up to Lair real fast, get my second gas, and get that Roach Warren. And the reason that is so strong, nothing is going to scout for a while for Kelazhur.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I
deal.
was thinking. This is kind of the type of Cham that I'm expecting in a best of series. I don't know. This is more like what I remember him being like, you know, like spicy, and I'm gonna throw a couple of all-ins here and there. So I don't know. Like, do you think it's gonna be a Nidus then?
I would assume so. I can't see any like weird Roach speed attack working, and he is building up quite a bit of gas, so he's really showing that he doesn't want anything scouted, and boom, a Nidus network does go down. And Kelazhur on the other side of things, he's also looking to be aggressive. Armory and Hellbats with a medevac.
Yeah, that's gotta be not good for him unit composition wise, right? The Roaches will have the better end of that trade every time.
I think so. There are situations where you can get like 6 Hellbats on top of Roaches and get, you know, a lot of AoE damage going, but it very much relies on the Zerg, I feel, not grouping things up. Because if you spread out a little bit, it's obviously a lot weaker, but Kelazhur is getting ahead in supply, or this Nidus
no
worm,
spotting. Yeah. I think this is Cham's game now. I mean, he's gonna defend this even, and then he can go for the counterattack push. And Kelazhur is now gonna be made aware of it, but too late. He reacts, but there's nothing to react with.
This is
and Kelazhur's gonna run back, Ben. He's gonna run back the Hellions.
So he turned him into Hellions, so they get back a lot faster, and he's now making Hellbats straight from the factory, so he doesn't need to morph. But Cham, he is advancing, and right now his supply it's fairly equal to Kelazhur's, but he's not making any drones from this point on.
I think there's no better army composition that to be fighting for Cham than straight up Hellbat versus Roaches at this point. And I think this is just going to show in this next fight, and Cham must be able to close it out, surely.
Oh, but those Hellbats, they're getting the big shots off that we talked about before, and Kelazhur, if he does survive
He's in micro.
Yeah,
this is the way.
The game.
Yeah, Cham not really microing as best as he could have. I feel like he clumped up. You talked about this, Ben, not to clump up against this sort of army composition, but still, too favorable. It looks like an engagement. Oh, I don't know. I don't like Liberators, because you can just morph the Ravagers usually.
You can. I mean, he's super low on gas right now. That Liberator, it's kind of stopping stuff from popping out of the Nidus, but it's not really doing much, and the Queen is shooting it down. He also dodges, and Cham quickly ties up the series here, one apiece.
Amazing play by Cham. I like it. I mean, that's what he has to come up with, you know, like try to surprise his opponents. And I like that he did it off of killing the Reaper, right? Very reactive. As soon as he kills the Reaper, he decided to go into it. You know what? Gives Kelazhur the minimum amount of time to react, right? Like it was as fast as it could have been, essentially. So really nice from him.
No, yeah, I love things like that, where it's like, okay, what is one thing that I can do that will abuse my opponent now for that error? And it's like, I'll do something that he can't possibly scout unless he does a random scam, but Terran's never going to do that, I don't believe. So yeah, very nice, quick, on-the-fly decision-making by Cham. And that kind of mix-up, it got him a quick, easy win. And Kelazhur, I can't remember the last time that I saw anybody else doing these Hellbat attacks against Zerg, by the way. I don't know how you feel about them.
Yeah, I think they can be okay, you know, depending on... I mean, Cham just showed Lynx, right? Like, Link Queen will not trade that well against them. I see some of those with battle cruisers mixed in, and they seem okay, like a Hellbat with a battle cruiser teleporting in, but not usually in the way that Kelazhur did it. It's pretty... Because it's like... It doesn't really rely much on your control either, right? You can't do much with a Hellbat. It's just kind of like, hope this goes well.
It really, like, it's an old school build, I feel. Like, when it first came out, it was like, oh, this is so strong. How does Zerg hold this? It's like, oh, you need Banelings. Like, oh, you need something else. And it really cost the Zerg quite a bit. But now I feel Zergs are so good at knowing what they can make to beat it. Maybe the Queen anti-air range upgrade or nerf benefits it a little bit with sniping the medevac.
generally speaking, there was for a very long time philosophy of not making a lot of queens. And 5 years into StarCraft, people started making a lot of queens. I think that plus just Zergs making roaches or banelings or a spine, I don't know. It's not really that hard to hold if you scout it.
No. And but yeah, Cham, he didn't necessarily scout it, but he threw an all-in at it, which was a better all-in. Let's be real. And Kelazhur definitely has to respect Cham a little bit better with that first Reaper. You can't just be throwing it away like that, obviously.
Yeah, that said, that was best possible case scenario for Cham. It does not get better than that, right? Like, you're going up against the unit composition of your dreams, and you're running an all-in into an all-in that hit you earlier, which is also the dream, right? Because you have more units by default.
Yeah, better units, more units, or at least units that are absolutely stand up very well against those ones. I mean, Hellbats, they're made to deal with the light units. They're not made to deal with the roaches. Anyhow, getting into the third game of our series. Spawning in the top left side as our red Terran, it is Kelazhur.
Hailing from Mexico, it is Chamaco. Going for Team Action. Can we have a campaign started to get rid of the decal under the hatcheries? This is a complaint of mine. I can't stop looking at it once I've seen it. Now I'm gonna give everyone that disease here because here we go with the zoom. Thank you. You see how it glows too? I can't unsee it.
The decal, the star?
No, the big circle. The big circle that glows. Now you cannot unsee it.
Oh,
it is
wow.
just
It's like
unpleasing.
It's like a hatchery on top of a flying saucer.
I'm not sure what it's on top of. I'm not sure what it is. And every time I look at it, I just can't stop thinking about it. And then it starts blinking and I'm like, remove it, please.
Is the other hatchery on top of one too?
Yes, of course.
Oh,
of course it is.
Okay.
No, not that one.
But this is on top of one too.
Yes, they are all on top of one. So it's not even a... Well, obviously it's not a Zerg thing, right? If everyone played Protoss, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe it's, it could do something.
So this is a map thing, hey?
Yes.
These things happen, cats. We like a bit of variety. Both these guys using the little happy-looking star thing as well, by the way.
True that. I love it.
That's why I thought you meant originally. I was like, getting rid of the happy star? No.
Oh, no, I love the happy stars. And that's an expression of oneself. But, there's no expression if we're forced to wear the big circle. It's just a little obtrusive. But anyway, on to the game, Ben. Not our aesthetic grievances.
No, certainly. Like, both these players are really opting for the same things to open up the games. Like the drone scout, just checking for proxies. And Kelazhur's going for the Reaper into Marine. The Reaper into Marine is very, very safe. It's become very much a standard. For a long time, Terrans opted for gas first and went for the Reaper into Reactor directly. But a lot of these pool first builds or just sneaking out lings onto the map and stuff really slowed you down and were very annoying. And wow, there's the drone.
Yeah, that didn't even really try much to save it. The link's running back there, so maybe not even watching at that point in time. And Kelazhur is very incisive with his Reapers.
Yeah, this might have been one of those where he's saving his grenade to try and get the queen away from the creep tumor when it plants it down.
Yeah. How do you feel about this map, Ben, by the way? I feel like the third and the fourth are kind of spread apart enough that it must be kind of difficult against Mutilating Bane and stuff, right?
With the third and fourth being far apart, or?
Yeah. And just this area in general, it feels like easy to control that area for the attacking player.
I think... Actually, I haven't played it quite enough to know exactly how it goes down. I think creep spread in general is kind of difficult for me to kind of stop from spreading on this map. Is one thing I feel, just because that initial point there, you have to go up a ramp, and once the queens get far enough out, it's kind of a bit difficult.
Yeah, I can see that. Does Zerg suffer from the same problem going down the ramp though?
Probably, although
to some degree,
maybe I'm just really bad at clearing up creep because I feel that it kind of gets out of control pretty quickly on this map. And
it's very difficult to commit up the ramp though. I mean, right? If you're the Terran player here, you can't just go and check and.
And behind all this, Cham's going for that Roach Warren again. Obviously, it's not with the super fast lair, but he's on 39 drones, and yeah, a lot of Roaches do start up here.
Yes, indeed. All right, so Queens are going to take this annoying position, and there's Kelazhur again, trying to show that this build was not intended to lose, and he's going to use it again to show us.
I'm scared for him. Like, there's 10 Roaches about to pop out. Like, he's running his kind of pressure build slash, it's a bit of a, I don't want to call it an all-in, but he's running into an all-in here, or at least a Roach pressure build, and I don't think it's going to work out at all, and no, it doesn't.
No, and now Cham, honestly, he has kind of a choice to make, and he's gonna make drones, edging out a few more Roaches, but for the most part, he can just macro behind this. He still has enough units that he's gonna force a defense, and Kelazhur has no room for greed. And yet he's gonna drop the CC anyway.
Yeah, Kelazhur went up to like 700-ish minerals there. So it really made me feel that he wasn't quite prepared for Cham to hold that off so easily. Like, yeah, there's a Liberator coming in, but he's building 2 bunkers, got a CC on the way, got a Banshee and like a couple of Marines and stuff, and oh, this Liberator. Oh, wow. What happened from game 1 to the next 2 games? Kelazhur's just getting caught with his pants down, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, he's making those Hellbats, I think is what happened, right? Pretty much. And running into Roaches. I mean, Hellbats into Roaches is not what we want here, Ben. And I feel like he doesn't need to do that, right? It's a gambly build. Let's not even call it bad. Let's just say it stacks up better against certain things. If you're the better player, don't take those risks.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hellbats, it's very much not dependent on your skill. It's dependent on what your opponent really chooses to open up with. And Cham is a guy that I do think likes Roaches in general. So doing that kind of build against him, it's just... It's playing blackjack without good odds, you know, like really bad odds.
I agree. Yeah. So just like playing blackjack.
Basically, yeah.
Unless you're counting cards, of course.
Of course. But that's illegal, cats. Or at least frowned upon.
I don't know how to do it, so.
No, I'm not a math genius at all. But yeah, Kelazhur, he's down in the gutter here. 30 SCVs have fallen. He's doing
I'm no math genius, Ben, but it looks like 40 versus 83. It don't look good.
Don't look good. And, you know, behind this, Cham is actually at 54 drones as well. GG, Cham is 2-1 up in this series.
Caliente.
That is absolutely phenomenal. Like, Cham has absolutely switched it around. And, guys, we'll be heading to a short break. We'll be back to finish up this series.
Bienvenidos de vuelta! Welcome back to DreamHack Masters Latin America portion, where Cham unexpectedly leads 2-1 over one of the region's favorites, Kelazhur.
I mean, super impressive by Cham, but also Kelazhur just, I feel he kind of put himself in this situation, right? Like, if I was his coach, I'd probably have been like, okay, Kelazhur, I know you like this build. I know you did it against Jim Rising to great success, but this guy likes roaches. Probably not the best idea. But then to do it twice in a row, and I understand that, right? Like, okay, I did it once.
Because I wasn't even aware of this, Ben. You said he did it yesterday against Jim Rising, or when did?
Yes. Or the day before, apparently.
Like if he did it more than once, I mean, you can't just do that, you know?
No, so he's been pulling this out quite a few times in this competition, and it can be one of those things. I remember Goblin saying something funny to Rotterdam. He's like, I've done the same build twice in a row. He'll never expect me to do it 3 times in a row, and then he got blind countered, and it was like, there's some next level mind games sort of thing. But no, for real, like we all know Cham is good, but we all know he's also a very good player that likes his roaches. So yeah, from now on, I do hope that Kelazhur kind of steers clear of that build, because even at the best of times, I don't think it is necessarily the best build to go for.
Yeah, I mean, it's an all-right build. It's a build that feels like you're conceding a lot of the control that Kelazhur is so very good at. So I feel like he should really play to his strengths and maybe not take any more risks, right? I think it's a good build to mix in maybe in a serious ban, because then your opponent might consider going roaches or making extra spines, right? Like we talked about this a little bit. It's a good thing to mix in so that your opponent has to think about accounting for more things, but twice in a row and it fails twice in a row, I don't know.
No, certainly not. And to introduce our players, spawning over in the bottom right-hand side as our blue Zerg, it is Cham.
And trailing 1-2, it is Kelazhur.
What was your prediction again for this series? It was 3-1 for Keller, right?
Yep.
Yeah, very, like, I really thought the first game was like, oh yeah, my prediction's fairly solid, like 3-0 Kelazhur, you know? But
it looked that way, yeah.
Luminek. And now we get to see Submarine. I've actually been enjoying the new map pool. I know I've talked about the new map pool quite a bit. I'm almost boring with how much I've talked about it. But this map in particular, I like the different terrain that maps have. And like here, you don't have that big ring around your building. You know what I'm saying?
You mean the little? Okay, yeah. You don't like the ring? I like rings.
You were talking about how you didn't like the ring on Death Aura, I thought.
Oh no, not that nasty one. I mean, like when there's like a little bit of terrain that marks where the command center hatchery nexus is supposed to go.
This ain't on no flying saucer kind of thing, you know. This is nicely placed.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
the star is the focal point.
The natural also looks nice. You know, a different style, a different way to do it, but also unintrusive predominantly, right?
I do like the brighter maps. Like I know for a while we had them all doom and gloomy. It was like black, pink, and neon violet, and I'm like, oh, I go into each game and it's like, oh. But now
some of those had good lighting in. Like I think it was one of those neon violet or black pink that had a really cute lighting in the main. Like they had a lightning effect in the main that I really liked. It was very.
I think it was neon violet.
It made it less gloom, you know?
Yeah, I liked it too. And I liked all the pink blocks knocking around too. That cheered me up.
Yeah, I liked it.
Also, the weird, I mean, I'm going totally off track here. This Reaper is being a bit of a nuisance. Doesn't get too much damage done. But the back base as well with the 1 gas, I liked that. Because that was kind of like a choice that you had. Like, do you take it and get, you know, a less efficient base or not take it and such? But yeah, I like it when maps mix it up.
Same, where you can have like you know, and develop build orders that are specific to the map. It's really a fun thing to do. Reaper is gonna come in and try to scout. Cham cannot deny it, but he pushed out anyway.
So far, Kelazhur back at home, so he's getting Hellions again. He's also getting a tech lab on the barracks, which normally you switch this about, and this this indicates something quite a bit more normal. Most likely a Banshee opening, or maybe a Raven again. It was successful in the first game. No Banshee this game. So this is a build as old as time. Hellion, Cloak, Banshee to start things off in game 4.
Yeah, and I mean, Kelazhur really has to hope that his pressure with the Hellions make Cham kind of all over the place to where he can't deal with the Banshee as well as he would like. But at least the Banshees, you get a lot more control over, Ben. You can keep them alive. You can reliably usually snipe drones on the side, right? So it's much safer than let's see if this Hellbat attack works. I like it.
Very, very much so. Cham, by the way, up to his tricks again. Went up to like 35-ish drones. Got up quite a few Overlords, then boom, 10 Roaches, and yet again. So he's looking to be aggressive. Now, if this was with a Nidus or something, but I mean, he's only at tier 1, I'd be a little bit scared, but it isn't.
You know, Ben, this is exactly what I predicted on this map, and I predicted Cham to win on this map with this strategy. So let's see if he does, because that would be kind of crazy, except I did not expect that Cham would be up 2-1 at this point. Right? That's the crazy bit.
I was a little bit scared there because Kelazhur's Banshee was off honing over to the top right of the map, but upon seeing how many units were charging at him, he comes on home with it. So he's going to have 2 Banshees out for this, which is a pretty good number. Oh, and yeah, this Banshee, I think it's going to pretty much shut things down. This wall goes up nicely. Most of his Hellions are behind this. I mean, 2 Banshees out now, producing a third as well.
Yeah, the 2 Banshees are amazing. He just has to make sure that he's target firing the Roaches, but even with this many Hellions out, I don't think the Roaches can break through. I mean, this is just insult to injury to repair that bunker at this point.
Yeah, certainly. I know like 10 SCVs have gone down, but this isn't really the end of the world for Kelazhur. And when he starts doing some counter damage with 3 Banshees, and also he's going to have 7 Hellions, Cham has to get out some battle units pretty fast to fend this off.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like Cham can just drone up behind us and try to catch up, because he has to defend against the counter attack now, and he doesn't have the means to. So let's see what all he has to do. It's more investment in defense now. This should be an opening for Kelazhur to go into another CC, take a third perhaps, and wow, that's a lot of drones that are going to go down.
Yes, that's a lot of Hellions. Nice split with the drones, though, and then kind of marching them through the Roaches. The Banshees are over at the 3rd base by the looks of it as well. 11 drones do fall so far, so counter damage has immediately been done, and these Banshees, they are still alive. And
oh, they can take those queens on. They have to be really careful. Only 3 queens available. Finally, there will be an Overseer morphed, which effectively makes it so that the queens engage the Banshees sooner and make them effectively, you know, a little bit stronger against them. But this one's gonna get picked up for free. No.
Oh, nice transfuse at the last moment there. And Kelazhur, he's just going to make things a bit awkward for his opponent now. But Cham does survive. Drone count is 50 versus 51, which you might be like, oh, that's really bad for the Zerg, but he has the ability to drone up quite heavily now after holding that off.
I suppose so, but I don't know. He's on low tech. He doesn't really have the upgrades that he wants to have. I feel like he's behind in every regard right now, and Kelazhur already has a 3rd finish that he's going to take. He's even ahead in workers, Ben, and has the mules.
Yes, and Cham is going for Roaches as well. We see that with the upgrades that he's gone for, and you know, I don't dislike it.
Nah, at this point you have to commit to something that's more mid-gamey, that can kind of fight the next attack, right? If you try to go Mutiling Bane right now, I feel like you're just not gonna be able to amass enough stuff to hold the next push by Kelazhur.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. That Changeling might have spotted this medevac moving out, so maybe he knows, like maybe he needs to get a few Roaches, although he does have 6 queens on the field and 9 Roaches, so I don't think Cham's in too bad a shape to hold off this attack, at least, but the thing is, Kelazhur's going to be able to grow at a phenomenal rate.
Yeah, he's going to get the cancel on this hatchery at the very least, I think. And I love that. I mean, Kelazhur's not taking any risks either, right? Dropping outside of creep like he should. Doesn't want to give Cham like a way back in by, say, flying the medevacs into his natural or something of the likes. And I think this is the way that he has to play now. Just patient, deny the 4th, and do your thing.
He also got the spot on what Cham's follow-up is after all of it, and it is Roaches, so You can start crafting a proper army, getting some Marauders out on the field as well, sticking with tanks and not switching to Widow Mines. And those Banshees, keeping them alive, they're going to continually be a thorn in Cham's side.
Yeah, it's a pretty nifty map for tanks as well. I feel like in the middle of those two bases, there's space for those tanks to make your initial 3 bases near unbreakable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of what you want to do with roaches, is break them. So that's going to be an issue.
Certainly. Kelazhur is building up a real scary army at his natural as well. I just see this big red blob on the minimap, and Cham is behind in supply when going Roach Ravager, which is absolutely not where you want to be. And yeah, this army from Kelazhur is so scary. Cham taking up to tier 3, getting Burrow, getting Infestors as well. Like, this is kind of the old school Cham that I remember having trouble against.
Definitely, but I mean, it's from very far behind, and let's remember, he doesn't even have a reliable way that is to deal with the Banshees at all, right? Like, and whatever way he decides to deal with them is going to be further investment that he's going to need to make at some point.
Certainly, and this isn't a small army, and he's got very little splash in his army. Yes, he's got Corrosive Vials, but it does take down one tank really smoothly, and he does have enough transfusion energy to boost up those Ravagers again.
Yeah, nice position. Engages with the Queens first, so this is what he wants. Kelazhur does have a lot and can kite back, but will expose his tanks in the process. One tank falls. The Infestor's not really with enough energy, so I'm not sure that Cham needed to engage before Kelazhur pulled in. And Kelazhur confidently going in, Ben. Is this it?
It might just be. The supplies are very close between these players. Fungal, is it even ready yet? No, these Infestors trying to march in. Now the Banshees join the fray, and they eliminate the Infestors. Oh, they get to throw one Fungal. Wow.
That's huge. These Banshees were completely uncontested. Held so much value there for Kelazhur, losing 2 of them to the Vials, and to Cham's credit.
Yeah, that was a really, really clutch hold by Cham. If any of that didn't go as it did, like, he could have been very much dead. 2-2 is finishing for Kelazhur soon, but in Cham, he actually has tunneling claws on his roaches, so...
Oh, this looks good. He's seen it. He's seen it. Yeah, he's seen it, but has a turret, so doesn't even bother. I'm not sure why he didn't continue to pull the rest of his army back. Now he does, because he clearly saw the shadows, right? He thought, okay, the rest of my army is going to deal with it, because he trailed the shadows.
You think he did?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he double backed when, like, under the shadows as he got past.
Maybe. I mean, have you ever felt that, like, certain races can see things better? For example, like, I feel like Zerg see nuclear spots way better than other races, just because they have to play against them so much.
Right. Oh.
And like roaches, like with tunneling claws, obviously in ZVZ, it's something that you play against so much in that matchup that it's like any little shadow, you just kind of like hone in on it, because it's those things I know that I'm not as good at noticing.
Yeah, that has to be the case to some degree.
This is definitely annoying for Kelazhur. Like, I think he's still pretty ahead, and the fact that he can keep crafting a good army with lots of Marauders and tanks, and even getting Liberators out now, but Cham, this is definitely a style that I know he feels comfortable with.
Yeah, this is where he goes. I mean, in this final game, right? This is the thing that's make it or break it. And if you are Cham, you probably feel happy either way, knowing that you gave it your best if you play your thing. And look at that. I mean, he's great at it. Can he get these tanks? There's not that many, Ben.
No, there certainly isn't, and that is a really good pounce by Cham. His army isn't super duper strong.
One more fungal.
But those Corrosive Vials have been good. There's almost more medevac than bio here.
Yeah, can you imagine one more fungal during that fight? That would have been so... I mean, Kelazhur may not have taken the fight then, you could argue, but yeah, just the difference made by one spell here would be gigantic.
It certainly would. Kelazhur's done a good job of pushing the creep back, but I think Cham's also been quite good about just pushing it forward. And Cham is playing super duper old, or at least his old school style, teching straight up into Greater Spire here, which I think is the correct call. Like, why do you need to go into Ultras here? You've got no melee upgrades. It would be kind of a waste. I know they'd have armor and stuff, but...
Yeah, certainly. I agree. It's got to be Greater Spire or something like maybe Vipers at Hydras or Lurkers or something of the sort. We haven't really seen many tanks production, so I mean, Cham knows that Kelazhur is most likely working off of a single factory, right? So Thors aren't that big a threat. I like it.
And he's also transitioning into multiple starports here. Now, By the way, I always kind of like smile a little bit when Zergs are on 200 supply and they're still making overlords, which we've seen a little bit from Cham just now. And I know that's also just because nerves, the chaos of the situation. It's like, oh, I can't make units, and it's like you automatically think that you're supply blocked, but no, you're already maxed out, Cham.
Yeah, and a lot of people, myself included, have certain cycles where you press certain keys enough times, and you have to press overlords as well. Like it's like you press enough times that you're like, okay, need an overlord. It's not a process that you think about at that point. It's just like you're automatically adding overlords sometimes. Yeah, you gotta make yourself aware.
Yeah, I like how Cham was just using one roach with tunneling claws to scout there.
Yeah.
But
I love doing that and burrowing under the tanks, right? Because then they draw the first fire and damage the tanks.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know why Cham's looking to fight here. Like,
especially out of creep.
Yeah, off creep, and when he's got 10 Broodlords morphing, I mean, that's like 1,500 minerals and 1,500 gas that, is going to be your big nuclear weapon in this matchup.
Yeah, I think what it might have been is that he was looking to trade some of his army so that he had space for the Broodlords.
Actually, you're probably right.
That was a decent trade on that front. No anti-air here for Cham. Kelazhur making 3 Vikings at a time.
Oh, but his whole bio army is caught.
There's a fungal. There's a fungal there. Cham could close this with a big fungal in the middle there.
I think Cham is really preoccupied with the army that's at the south as well that just took out his 4th base. So trying to deal with that. At the same time, fungals do now land. Vikings go uncontested in the sky.
That is a problem. Yeah, there's the Corruptors, but they're not really being paid attention to. And Cham actually biting a lot of these Vikings. This could be what breaks Kelazhur. There's not that much against these Broodlords, but there's not much left for Kelazhur either.
I think Cham's doing it, Cats. I think Cham's doing it. Like, this is a lot of brute force right now. There isn't too many casters or spells available, but bios are landing. He's being so aggressive. Is he going to be able to do it?
Maybe. I mean, these Broodlords, if they all fall quickly enough, there's 3 on red health. If you are all of a sudden only dealing with 4 or 5 Broodlords, then maybe you can do it. I mean, there's barely anything on the ground for Cham, but it's looking dire. I mean, Kelazhur is still holding the supply lead.
The starports are falling, though. Supply blocked is Kelazhur now due to losing that.
He might push now. He might pushing now. I think he's going for the Broodlords now. I think he can do it.
Oh, he's getting under them. He's getting under them. Yep. The bio stood a step. The Broodlords as well. In fact, they're kind of dancing.
What are the Broodlords even doing? Broodlords have not been shooting. Yeah, I mean those Broodlords are crazy right now. I'm not sure what Cham thinks he's doing. And are they even shooting? Like, I think most of the time they didn't shoot, right? They might have shot like once or twice. So if you've ever seen something over microed, What is over micro? Someone said, link him this.
Yeah, link him that for sure. That was definitely over micro. And Kelazhur, he's now got like a 40 supply lead. He's rebuilding a lot of his depots. He's even making in fact, he just took a 5th base behind all this pressure. Kelazhur, he's looking to end it now, and GG is called. Kelazhur ties up the series 2-2 between these guys. That got
a banger.
Yeah, that got super close between them. Like, Cham, I don't think he was in a good shape from the start of that game, like after his push got deflected. But wow, that got really close at the end then.
Yeah, and I think that really should give him some confidence, perhaps going into the final game to try to default to his comfort zone maybe. That style really suits him. I mean, he's good at it because he's done it so much. He understands it very well. So very clean execution, almost bringing him back in a game where he was behind against arguably a better player, right?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel that Cham is kind of finding his comfort zone as these series go on. Like he was really trying to do a lot of the stuff that other players do. But sometimes StarCraft has to be played the way that you play it, Like there was a famous, or when I say famous, there was a guy in Warcraft 3 called Madfrog, and he had he said something that really stuck with me. He was like, why... I'm going to butcher it here, but why be a worse version of somebody else when you can be the best version of yourself or something like that, And it was like, oh, that's cool. So
that's a good one. I like it. I too live by that philosophy. So I appreciate the approach.
Fifth map of the series between these two. And it is going all the way between these two as well, which I think that's cool to see, because I would say the best player of the Latin American scene is probably Special.
Yes, fair to say.
Just with how well he's been doing recently and how consistent he's been as well. But it's nice to see that there is absolutely competition for who's going to go and face him, potentially.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, to the earlier stages of the tournament, there's a lot of up-and-coming talent in Latin America. I think it's a region that's pretty active, and in big part due to the likes of Jim Rising, for example, who has been really a proponent of the Latin American, the Spanish StarCraft scene. So we'll see him later in the day, of course. But yeah, Latin America is a region that's still on the rise, I think.
Rightly so. Like I know it's had those top dogs for a while with Special, Kelazhur, Cham. He made a rise a few years ago. Even players like Eric. I know he went and ventured out to Korea to practice and train. And I brought it up with Rotterdam as well a few times. That game that he played against Time, I think it was in Nation Wars. It was honestly one of the best games I've ever seen from Eric. And, you know, I hope to see more of him in the future.
Yeah, and he was showcasing an original style there too, like going very heavy on the lurkers before most or anyone pretty much was going for that style. So yeah, he's definitely someone to look out for. He's a good player, Eric. So.
But we are getting into the fifth game here, which I didn't think I'd be saying, and
Picante.
And it's looking very close between these two players. Spawning in the top right here, as our Red Terran, it is Kelazhur.
Will he be able to complete the upset? It is the pride of Mexico, Cham.
And every game this series, he went for the drone scout, just around his base and stuff. So yeah, you can't really proxy against Cham, it seems.
I guess he just doesn't like proxies, and you can't proxy against him, but he also falls a little bit behind every game, right? Willingly.
Yeah. I mean, it could get to a point, though, where, let's say he does the same scout every time, and you place your proxies in that one little location that he doesn't get. For example, right next to that rich Vespane gas.
Yep.
That would suck.
That would suck. I mean, if you get like 10 replays of Cham on this map, and this is the pattern that he follows, yeah, you can definitely do that.
and people don't really tend to think about that too much, but players absolutely do have patterns and styles that they stick to.
Yeah. One thing that I almost noted earlier is how active Harstem was with his probe at actively checking the corners, because I think most players will just kind of rally in the kind of automatically rally where you want the SCV to go or where you want the drone to go to scout. And it's much easier to get kind of lost in your patterns in that way.
Yeah, for sure. And so far for Kelazhur, he's sticking with what he does, which is the Barracks gas build. Again, I think that's a solid build to stick with in a series, or at least, one to kind of fall back on if everything else hits the fan. But yeah, the one thing that I don't want to see from him is like a Hellbat kind of build. Cham is he's getting into his roach zone right now.
Yeah, the only thing I don't want to see from him is that. I mean, I would love to see something like, I don't know, if you want to be safe, classic, like 2 medevac drops, something like that, like very Kelazhur, give me some Marines and medevacs.
Are you talking about a 2-1-1?
Yeah, if you want to, I mean, it's better than Hellbats at this point.
Yeah, sure. Against Cham, sure. But it's still, I have
safe.
like...
It's safe.
I have PTSD with the 2-1-1. Like,
do that.
It was around for a long time, to be fair to it, that it was
like 2 years.
The best build, yeah. Mm-hmm. But then once it stopped, and once, queens got their buffs and people made more queens and stuff, it was like, not the best build anymore. Mm-hmm. For years afterwards, people were like, hey, why not the 2-1-1, man? I'm like, gosh, damn it. Like, it's done, okay? It's done.
Do you think it's done, or do you think it comes back at some point, Ben, on the back of, basically players forgetting the timing, forgetting how to defend it?
I think one thing that was cool about it did come back a couple of times for specific timing attacks, like Mara versus Rogue, where you bring tanks and stuff. which I thought was really cool. But then Maru played Serral at GSL versus the World, and Serral shut it down crazily. And I think that was the death of it. I think it died right there. Yeah.
That was
and I've never been so happy.
Alrighty, so still looking to see. Oh, it's a Raven. It's a Raven opener this time. Pretty standard, also pretty safe, generally speaking, I would say.
Yeah, certainly. Raven on this map. I think one thing that's really cool about Raven here, that's a little bit different to Eternal Empire, is the fact that if you can get it behind the natural and the main, you can keep switching which base it actually drops at.
Yeah, that's kind of nasty, actually.
But
Would you say this is the best map for it?
Hold on a second there. This is a big win for Cham. He only lost 2 drones and gets all the Hellions, and Kelazhur's having to make more Hellions here.
Oh no, that's map control, and especially because, like you just pointed out, Kelazhur is making more Hellions, right? He wanted to go potentially for an attack here with the Hellions and the Ravens. Maybe he was going for another Hellbat push.
Oh, I have no idea, but he is opting for buy behind this. But is it the best map for Raven? I mean, it's different, right? Like, it's definitely good on this map, purely because of that position we talked about. Oh, does he get a queen? Oh, wow, no.
With focus fire, could he have? Or did she get out of range?
I think she got out of range. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't just go for the drones, actually, with a little bit of focus fire there. I think that's what I would have personally done. But it's in that position that we talked about, and 2 spores are there to kind of watch over that Raven. So Kelazhur's playing the map, but I think Cham is very decently prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, two spores is pretty much going to cancel out the Raven. But the Raven can still find a spot, right, to be annoying on one side, just not as easily in the middle of that mirror line. There it is.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's probably going to eventually die, maybe, if it keeps on popping back in, or...
Or this. I mean, it's going to leave. That works too. No fire will be forced.
No, that's actually decent. And everything else that's going on the map, if we ignore the Raven, it's very, very standard. And Cham going for this forward 4th base, which, I don't hate it at all.
No, I like it, in fact. I think it's a good base to have. It is a little bit harder to hold than I would say the one to the right, the normal 4th base, essentially, right? Like the one next to your main base, that one.
Yeah, I think it also depends on where you aim your creep spread, because that creep spread from both sides is going to envelop that forward 4th, which is a nice thing. So it definitely shows that Cham was aiming for that from quite a while ago. Oh, these Hellions also getting caught. I mean, this isn't as big of a deal, but it is map control constantly going.
Yeah, only 2 SCVs falling, so good job from Kelazhur being at 2 places at once there effectively. And I think you're perfectly right, Ben. From the start, I think Cham was already planning on this base. Otherwise, you need a lot more creep spread off to the right. But I mean, at the same time, this base, I think, is easily threatened by tanks, which Kelazhur is not really going for.
Yeah, Kelazhur's even adding like Marauders into his mix, like already. Normally when you know you're against like Ling Baney compositions, you're just like straight up Marine through and through. So maybe he's also kind of like, well, those Roche attacks really caught me off guard a little bit, but we'll see what happens. They're also decent for tanking, obviously, against the Banelings. Yeah,
wouldn't you want tanks and as an all-rounder? I mean, we have 3 here. Is that enough? I'm not sure. This looks small.
It's definitely good positioning.
That is true. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is where this base is all of a sudden not so great because the tanks get a good position. But I like this by Cham going on the counter offense.
The counter offense is really good, and it's very hard to look in 2 locations at once. But these tanks, it's very scary because once Kelazhur... Lots of SCVs going down for Kelazhur.
One tank is going to get caught as well, and a few units on the reinforced. Kelazhur pushing on forward, but Cham still has a good amount of units. He's being very patient. I like it. I mean, Kelazhur is going to be forced to leave on 4th if he wants to apply further pressure with those tanks.
I love that Kelazhur's bouncing between the 2 bases here. Ooh, that Baneling with a dream.
Yeah, and he's very important because these Marines are also the buffer for those tanks. If they die, the tanks are in trouble. And Cham doing a great job with this counter offense. I'm not sure who's getting the better end of this, Ben.
Well, Cham has a far superior economy, but he also did things like he also did things like he has 196 supply in total to go to. So I think he really overmade Overlords here.
Oh, he does a good job of engaging the army before the reinforcements arrive. However, this was his only timing to kill this, I feel like. And with resetting the tank count, he may be able to still stabilize. Kelazhur does lead in supply by 10 or so.
I'm so scared for Cham. He keeps falling into this trap where he doesn't start his 2-2. Aha!
Oh!
Just as I said it, he gets it going.
Yeah, and these Banelings need to connect with some of these Marines. Standing at the edge of creep, it's a little bit risky from Kelazhur, but Cham doesn't really have any staying power. It's just Ling Bane. He's trading his entire army all the time. It's on edge. There's no Hydra backbone. There's no Muta backbone here.
Oh, nice snipe of that one single Baneling in that army as well. Kelazhur marching forward. Yes, he's behind in SCVs, but he's still making SCVs while pushing, whilst also making an army. And Cham, he's kind of on the ropes here. Supply like falling behind.
Oh no, I think Kelazhur is just about done it. I think he's about to break Cham's back here. I mean, he just has to be careful. If Cham is able to reset Kelazhur's army, but look at how careful he's being, Ben.
Super good free splits, fighting both bases at the same time.
Amazing.
And Cham, he's trying to clean up half of it, but I don't think he's even going to be able to do that. And these Banelings are being so inefficient until maybe they can get a nice splits by Kelazhur, and yet again.
Yeah, and like, look at all this medevacs uncontested. This is because there's nothing to clear them the entire game. I mean, when they're out of energy, you might feel, oh, those medevacs are kind of useless, but you can also see in retrospect how useful they have been. So this is problematic for Cham. He really didn't address those at all. This hatchery is going to fall, and with that, Kelazhur is going to secure a very hefty economical lead.
And right now, oh, did you see that? The drone started heading to the north base, and I think Kelazhur kind of saw that a little bit.
Yeah. But so he sees the Zerglings coming from the north base as well. And that's going to confirm that there is a base there. Love that he leaves the Marauder in the back there.
Yeah, any attack moving from Banelings, they just blow up on that Marauder. And for the time being, Kelazhur has not only a huge supply lead, but an upgrade lead as well. And Cham, any fight he takes is a bad one at this point. And Kelazhur, it looks like he's going to edge it out in the 5th game of this series.
Amazing, G. Oh, come on, you had time to reevaluate your choice.